Hi, love, and welcome to Queerify, formerly known as Quest, a journey to wellness, where we help to demystify wellness for cutie BIPOC. I'm V, aka Love Nest Monster. I'm a two-spirit human from the Yaqui and Hopi nations, also Mexican and Filipino. And also, I'm a joy influencer. So, keep them smiles on, y'all. Today, we're going to talk about some heavy stuff, some light stuff. It's going to be a celebration to start. Then we're going to dive deep, y'all, into some foundational moments that have come up due to this podcast. And I'm going to get real vulnerable with y'all, and I'm going to read y'all one of my morning pages. If you're like, what the heck is morning pages? Keep listening. I will explain it all. You know, my mind can be a little chaotic, so I have a therapist, y'all. And my therapist helps me organize everything that's going on in there through self-compassion work. And so I'm going to share with y'all these ways that my therapist is helping me move through a lot of this craziness that's going on up here. And let's be honest, y'all, I think that all of us can use some self-compassion work right now. So put your seatbelts on. It's going to be a wild ride. As I said, we're going to start this off with a huge celebratory moment. I don't know if y'all know, 3 years ago this month was the inception of this podcast. Yes, 3 years, y'all. Can you believe that? Thank you for all the listeners that have been here since the beginning. Thank you for those listeners that are listening for the first time today. We love all of you. No matter how long you've been here, thanks for being here. It's a really, really wild ride. I want to say I have grown so much in these 3 years. I think this podcast has been a huge, huge reason for a lot of my growth because we're faced with a lot of really big topics through our guests, through our meetings, through just all the production of this whole podcast, because this is a team of us. I don't want to say it's a big because we're big energies, but now it's 3 of us, but we talk about very deep things that happen, and I have been compelled, not only by myself, but by the team, to really put myself out there. And I've had a big shift in life that has brought me to this point to share with you all this foundational moment for me in time. And the way that I'm going to share it to you, the way I'm going to deliver it to you is through morning pages that I wrote this month. And the way that morning pages was brought to me is like, in the morning, you have to piss. You have to piss so bad. And when you pee, you feel so good. In the mornings, you have all these thoughts that are taking you this way, that way, this way, that way, this way, that way. So instead of being yanked and pulled here and there, sit down before you do anything in your day. Sit down and just brain dump all those crazy thoughts. Just throw them down on paper. It doesn't matter grammatically. It doesn't have to make any sense. You're just kind of just throwing it out there. And for y'all spiritual folks out there, it's said to believe that in that time of when you first wake up, you write these things down, you're a little bit more tapped into that whole self that's out there doing all that work that can give you a lot more answers than this person on this plane in this dimension. So you have a little bit more information that you're able to access during that time. So, without further ado, I'm going to read y'all my latest morning pages that falls into the rest of this episode and brings us to when my therapist is like, this is how you can work through this, because otherwise I am just chaos. So again, grammar doesn't have to make sense. I literally started this off with one word. And I wrote, avoidant. Catching myself in the avoidant nature and behaviors more often these days. Or maybe this avoidant nature is my default, but I am now tuning into it and I'm more aware. Now, I need to make intentional time of stillness and or reflection to figure out what I'm avoiding, because I have done such a good job at even hiding it from myself. Because if you ask me, what are you avoiding? I wouldn't even know what to say. My mind begins scrummaging around and finding nothing, but creating chaos without a clear path. I guess the lack of the path is due to my avoidance. So I've said this before, without mentioning that my heart pours into others so effortlessly. I'm eager to help others find more ease in their lives. Meanwhile, I am actively abandoning myself and pouring my energy, concern, and problem-solving strategic planning energy into others. So much that I have nothing left for myself. Why am I so comfortable with abandoning myself? Why is it so easy? I can't even imagine treating someone else in the same manner, just oblivious to the issues. Jeez, I sound like the people I have broken up with in my past. Because I know that I deserve more than that. The very thing I despised about those past relationships, I have become. Or maybe I have always been that. Or this way, and those past partners were mirrors of my own self-abandonment. And I was being that example of love that I thought I deserved to receive. So I was mad at them, but they were literally mirroring what I was giving to myself. So I set the standard. They just followed what I was showing them I believed I deserved. And I drew a little emoji of shock. Because I was like, whoa. When I wrote that down and said that out loud, I was like, holy crap. Like, I've been so focused on the details of where things felt like they went wrong or where I felt like I went wrong. Like, I was focused on all these little things. I wasn't focused on the issue at hand. And that issue was my self-abandonment. I'm so avoidant that literally being exactly that, I was being the example of the love that I thought I deserved to receive. So then I was receiving that. So the root of the lack of grace and self-compassion, I'm trying to figure that out. And it's really hard because culturally, we've been raised to be tough, emotions are weak and should be hidden, but we aren't taught how to cope with them and release them and understand them. They're just swept under a rug, and later they come back to haunt us, reminding us they're still there. And this hiding of emotions is a version of emotional abandonment. So those of us who receive that generational treatment have become people pleasers and are extra hard on ourselves. Because according to my therapist, these are symptoms of early child abandonment, is the people pleasing and the mastering of the external. Sometimes there's these moments that it comes up to me that I am so mean to myself. Like the other day, driving with my partner, she was driving a little wild, and my triple fire, I had to say something, and I guess I wasn't very nice about it, being cantankerous season. I don't remember what I said. I'm assuming it wasn't very nice. And she was like, can you talk to me the way you would talk to yourself? And without even thinking about my response, I literally said, if I did that, we would break up. And she was just appalled, wow, you're that mean to yourself? And then I was like, holy shit, Yes, I was aware of my reality. So, needless to say, I'm currently working on this with my therapist to have some better self compassionate work. If you're kind of like, all right, we need to know this, I'm going to give you some top 3 questions that she's brought to me to help me kind of reel it back. Shut that inner saboteur, not even shut that inner saboteur up, but question them. Like, you're aware of it, and then now you can be like, kind of put them in a different headspace. And so what she told me to do is like, focus on a compassionate image. Like someone that brings warm feelings to you. Like a person that makes you feel safe. Shoot, it could even be little you. So number 1, what would this compassionate person say to your self-critic? Number 2, what would I tell this compassionate person if they were going through the exact thoughts in their head? Number 3, what can I do to cope and look after myself now? That last one, I'm still like, what? And I was like, kind of like, okay, I have no idea how to take care of myself now. This is part of the avoidant of 36 years of avoiding the coping and doing it now. So my therapist was like, here, just write this list and just pour it out of when you're overwhelmed. What are some healthy things that you can do to kind of pull you out of that overwhelmed feeling? And then another list of what are those negative impacts that come up because of that unhealthy behavior? And I followed up with her and I was like, you know what? Lists are easy. I can do lists, but that's just throwing all the chaos down on paper, but I'm not really working through it. So she suggested, she's like, okay, well, what about like a self-compassionate journal? So number 1, what is the trigger? What is the current struggle? Number 2, what is the self-critical part of me saying? Like, list out all the things I'm saying towards myself alongside the trigger. Number 3, what is the tone of voice I'm using when I'm saying those critical opinions? Number 4, how much do I actually believe these critical opinions? Number 5, what emotions am I feeling? And rate that on a scale of 1 to 10. For example, one trigger can bring up many emotions. You could feel angry, you could feel sad, and rate those individual feelings with a 1 to 10 scale, just so you can really understand it. And when you're thinking these feelings. And number 6, what physical reactions are coming up with these feelings? Like, recognize the emotional hits that it takes on the physical. Because then it brings you into your body and the emotion. And it makes you understand yourself a little bit better. And she says, like, when you do all this, you might be a little bit more in tune with, like, what it is you're feeling. Because we all get stuck at the trigger stage. A lot of us get, at least I do. Let me not speak for y'all. Your probably processes are much different. But for me, I often sometimes get stuck in a trigger state until I calm down. And, you know, the triggers are moments that I've learned where there's space for me to grow. And I'm really curious to hear how y'all run through these processes. If you're interested in sharing your journey around self-compassionate thinking, we would love to hear and even maybe share on the podcast some of your written answers. So send your written answers or even an audio recording to queerifywellness@gmail.com or on IG at queerifywellness in a DM. Slide on in. Because, this is heavy work, y'all. Doing it alone sometimes can feel isolating. And when you're isolating, you get deeper in that darkness. So let somebody hold your hand and be there with you. And we can sit in the dark together. Let's do it. Well, thanks, y'all, for listening. And thank you for being part of this journey. And stay tuned, because in 2 weeks, all those questions I asked you, I'm going to answer those with you, because I have yet to do that. I've been avoided this past week. But I'm going to make it my homework to answer those questions and let you know what comes out of it. And hopefully I hear from y'all too, and we work through it together. And I'm really excited about this journey. I love you all. Thank you for listening. And till next time. Bye. Tap that follow button, give us a 5-star rating and review, and hey, your review might end up on the show. This podcast is organically grown by Rafaela Landestoy, Leah Jackson, and myself, V. Vasquez. Editor and sound designer, Leah Jackson of Puka Puka Creative. Original music produced by Basque. His music is amazing. And emotional support by our fur babies, Nugget and Pukalani. I'm not sweating, you're sweating.